Good afternoon, and welcome back to the Careers Mare podcast, the podcast about careers that's also funny. And today we're going to be speaking to a very funny man. But before I tell you who he is, let me introduce you to another very funny man, my co host, Jordan Andrews. Hello, Jordan.
Sorry, Jacob. I was just laughing at my own joke.
You're looking in the mirror and laughing at yourself because
Yes.
you look so funny.
Oh, now it's the sad podcast because you've made me cry.
Do you reckon that people can look funny, as in not look funny, as in look weird, but look funny, as in they look like they're funny?
Yeah, definitely. If you looked at us, if we were walking down the street, say hand in hand, maybe, but we don't have to be. If you don't want to, but I'd like to, and someone saw us, then they definitely say, "Well, there's a couple of funny guys."
I think that you look funnier than me. I think I don't look that funny.
I think you're doing yourself a disservice there, but I could be biased because I know you and I know how funny you are.
Thank you. But yeah, I think that you look like you're funny, and you are funny. So there. We should really start a bit more of a combative kind of relationship, shouldn't we? That will add a bit more spice to these sections. We need to stop getting on.
I think you're rubbish. I quit. I don't like it.
Here's some homework for our listeners. Try to set things up that create tension between me and Jordan. So try to orchestrate disintegration in our relationship, in our friendship.
Yeah, maybe you could tweet at us, something like, I can't believe what Jacob said about Jordan the other day. I can't believe that he would say such a horrible thing. Maybe then you'll witness the downfall of charisma.
Well, we'll still do the podcast, but
Yeah.
these will be very frosty introductions.
We could be like Chaz and Dave because they famously fell out and then apparently they would only talk to each other through their drummer.
Yeah, you've already got the accent.
Yeah. And I won't stop talking. Why don't I give it a rest?
But enough about us and our future fallouts. Today's guest is a project manager at a web design company, but we met him because he was the president of Southampton Comedy Society, of which we used to be members. Like our former guest, Eva Wallace, who was also a president of Southampton Comedy Society, and also like Eva Wallace, our guest was in a sketch troupe with my good self back in the day. And our guest is the wonderful, lovely Sean Gilbody. And I think it's time to hand you over to other Jacob and Jordan, the ones who were interviewing Sean, and Sean himself.
I'll play us out, Jacob. Sean,
Uh-huh.
welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you very much.
Sean,
Uh-huh.
how are you?
I'm doing very damn doodly well, thank you. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I almost set fire to my toaster earlier, so that was a bit stressful.
From the
But
inside or from the outside?
it was from the inside. I
Okay.
was cooking some pasta and I double dipped on the toast.
In the toaster.
So that's not how you do it. I get a sandwich bag and I fill it with water. Or basically ice. And then I plop some pasta and some creme fraiche on top. And then I follow HelloFresh. That's what they tell me to do.
So
Yeah,
you double dipped on the what? Sorry, on the bread, presumably.
I double dipped on the bread. Yeah, I double. What would you call the pressing down motion? The lower end of the bread.
The lever.
Priming is what I call it.
Okay, I double prime. I seconded.
Seconded. Is that what you
I
meant?
seconded the bread. Have you ever seen like a fire in a toaster?
No. Please paint us a picture with words.
Oh, okay. Have you ever seen a fire? That's going to be hard.
Yes.
Orange.
And I've seen a toaster.
And you've seen a toaster. Okay. Combine so the fire is in the toaster. Put one into the other, but not the other way around.
I was having this debate, right? And leave this in, Jacob. You have to leave this in because I need the listeners to help me out.
Okay, I will leave it in. Wink,
Um,
wink.
So the other day, Sean, so when we get people on, we like to take it right back to the start. Cast your mind back to the day you were born. And what was your job when you came out?
It was a cold Monday morning, the 5th of October, 92. That will give away some passwords. So it was the 5th of October, 92. Born 4 minutes past midnight.
The witching hour.
The witching hour. I was a witch, appropriately enough. That was the hour I was allowed out. Yeah, I wrote down all my first jobs because I kind of tried to. I haven't had that many, and then mostly after about halfway through, you go, "Oh, it's just an office, fine." The first one, technically, I did work experience at school. I worked at an accountancy firm, quite a big one in London. They didn't really know what to do with me. I think like someone's mum worked there. When I was a kid, I was very good at maths, and I still I can do sums quite quickly.
What is 17 times 15?
17 times 15, 255.
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I'm good. I
Well
like
done.
math. Yeah, I'm very thank you. That made it. I really didn't want to be asked in case I got it wrong, because I'm glad you asked me an easy one. They'd get me to like go through someone else's work and just check that the numbers added up pretty much. I worked through Leighton Orient Football Club. I got to look into their accounts, and like there was no
Oh, yeah.
detail. It was literally just sums and sums and sums. The worst day I had there was, so there were like different departments. So when I was like checking through the tables, that was just doing some maths for the whole day and then just sitting around like with a load of 30-year-olds. It was quite boring. Later on, they moved me a floor up for a day to auditing. And in auditing, they were shredding papers. So what they needed me to do for the whole day was to take staples out of like reams of paper. They didn't give me, you can get like those staple clip things to like rip stuff out.
Yeah.
They didn't give me one of those, so I would do it by hand. And obviously, because like the ends are sharp, like I'd end up like cutting the tips of my fingers. So slowly, I was getting like, as I was going through the different bits of audit, I was getting more and more blood on them. So by the end of the day, I think they came up and went, "These are the bloodiest audits we've ever seen." So I put my head down and walked away. I was 16. So
But didn't you say, why didn't you give me a thing for taking the staples out?
I was not aware of such a technology. You had to remember, I was a young babe, not as young as the 5th of October 92, but I think I was 16 at this point. So I never like I never needed to unstable something before.
But when you were doing it, was no one watching you? Were you doing it alone in a
Oh
room?
no,
or-
pretty much. Yeah, it was kind of. It was the first day I was there. It was very clear that I was a bother, and they didn't really. I was like an extra bit of work for someone else rather than let's show someone young how to like work here and what we do.
Presumably, at some point, this accountancy firm has done a big digitization project and they've scanned all of their paper files into a database. So, does it trouble you to think that a photocopy or a scan of some of your blood might be in an accountancy firm's cloud storage?
It excites me if like a part of my DNA is in SharePoint. I think that would make me almost the first cyborg. Sticking with teenage jobs. Okay, my first like paying job. I worked security at race courses
No.
when I was about 16.
You're a bouncer.
Yeah, I was a bouncer, a 16-year-old bouncer. It did not work. People did not respect me. But it was quite interesting because I'm not scared of horses, but these horses are big. They're really, really big horses. Yeah, so I would work during the day, it'd be horse racing. And at night, it would be big concerts. So we'd have Tom Jones did one. So I got to see Tom Jones live. I
Oh,
got
that's
to
cool.
see, he was the only real big one. I got to see Jessie J before she won the Chinese X Factor.
Jessie J.
She won the
Alfie
Chinese
Boe.
X Factor.
I
Why would she
think
go on the
did.
Chinese? She's not Chinese, is she?
If we're being cynical, would we say it's because she was trying to break the Chinese market, or
It
are we
probably
saying she's just
is,
very?
yeah.
But she just, or she
Was she trying
really
to
likes China.
break into it or break it down?
Since then, they have had more economic issues,
They have.
so maybe it has worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I saw Jessie J, Alfie Boe.
Oh, you've gone right
Ava-
off a cliff now in terms of name recognition.
The Rat Pack, a Rat Pack experience.
Not the rat
Um,
pack.
Oh, just the.
They didn't bring them back to life and
a cover.
cart
just the
them.
just the corpse. It was kind of like a state funeral. It's their new touring show. You know, ABBA Voyage,
Yeah.
Yeah.
where they kind of it was pre hologram technology. So the closest they could obviously get was kind of the 4 of them on the 4 cadavers on a stage.
Yeah. With
Yeah.
strings attached to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some kind of master puppeteers.
Ferris
Yeah.
Bueller's Rat Pack.
So yeah, it was good. It was kind of, I don't know if have either of you ever done any stewarding before?
No.
Does it count if I? No, I guess it doesn't count. No, I've never done.
It's a lot
stewarding.
of telling people not to stand on stairs. You're given a high vis jacket and you turned up like an hour before general punters would turn up, and then kind of
With General Punters, he was a good. It's good to have those senior military figures coming to visit. There was a lot of buzz around when they showed up.
Thank you for your service.
well, I did work in the royal box, not on a day when a royal was there, but there might have been a general. I don't know. I got given a high vis jacket, yellow it was. You've seen high vis jackets before.
Yeah, it's either yellow or orange.
Yep, this was a yellow one. Let's be clear. Orange were for the
Okay.
seniors.
I can picture it.
Yeah, you got it in your head. And then we'd have to go in like suit and tie, and we basically walk around during the race day, and you're paid minimum wage. So if there was like, and I never saw any trouble, but if there was, you're not going to get involved really. In the evening, you then have to like everyone's trying to like get a good angle of like seeing Tom Jones. For some reason, I don't know if it's like worrying that people are going to fall down the stairs or something, but they just couldn't stand on the stairs. So you'd constantly be having to like tell people about 3 times your age to move back, and then they'd give you like jip about why, so they'd carry on moving forward. And that was that job really.
How did you respond to people giving you jip? Because that's often the worst nightmare of an adolescent.
It's the thing that did make me scared of jobs for a really long time, because there was no response. Because like you're 16, you don't really. It's a mixture of not really caring and not being clever or smart enough to have a response. Like nowadays, I think people should be like more respectful of stewards, really, because it is like it's so terribly paid. I think that's the same as my next job. I worked in a pub as well, and I think people need to be more respectful, like bar staff as well. It's the same thing where
Oh yeah.
people are trying their hardest.
I just think with the stewardship, it's like you see someone there with a high vis, and instantly you're like, oh, they're just the fun police, aren't they? Like,
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
I mean, I worked behind a bar for a bit. Luckily, I'd never had any trouble because it was like events I did, so it was like companies were there, so everyone was sort of on best behavior. But
Mhm.
what was yours, like a pub or a restaurant or something?
It was kind of like it was kind of a country vibe pub. It was kind of on the edge of this small town. There was never like loads of trouble. The main trouble was either like someone had done drugs in the toilet. One time, like we caught a guy doing drugs in the toilet. We kicked him out, and he went to the kind of rougher pub next door. He drank there the rest of the night. Came back. We had to lock the doors because we were closing up. We looked out the window, and he was urinating on the window. It was
Huh.
it was I've never done it before, but it was what he was into. So you just kind of saw him, and then you just slowly like draw the curtains, and that was the end of the night. There's this drinking game called Beer Man, which
Okay.
you know how your body has 8 pints of blood.
Yeah.
If you can drink 8 pints without going to the toilet, anything more than that, you will have more beer than blood in your system, and therefore you become the beer man.
No.
Oh, that's got me thinking. Actually, could I drink 8 pints and not go to the toilet?
Very hard
Oh,
to
I
do.
think I think the next time
And then record a
yeah,
podcast
yeah,
straight after.
I think the next time I'm getting boozy, I will have to try that.
Yeah.
So the pub job that came immediately after the stewarding, did it?
No. Sorry, I should have been clearer. So the stewarding was like a summer job thing. It was such a random thing. I don't know, what do people like? I suppose pubs are the other things that people do when they're like students and trying to make a little bit of money.
Catering and
supermarkets.
yeah, supermarkets, just customer facing retail stuff. Yeah.
The other one I did, when I failed out after 2 years, and then I started working in the pub.
Was that just at that point? Did you have any idea of what you wanted to go on to do?
So at that point, so I asked my mum and dad this question, like, what did I want to be? I have a terrible memory, so I can't remember. They said scientist, no part of science. They just said scientist general, and that scientist, and that's why we bought you that chemistry set. Now I think I played with the chemistry set on Christmas Day, but I can't remember it apart from that. I think I always assumed I was going to be an accountant because of the maths thing that I mentioned earlier. But if you just think like what jobs require maths, I think it's probably the first one that comes to mind. Realistically, the answer is like
Calculator?
yes, human abacus. I could kind of coil myself around a wooden pole, and someone could slide me along if I could convince 4 or 5 other people to do it with me.
Let's do it. Come on, we're not at the dream job section yet, Sean.
So that was my assumption then. So yeah, I worked in the pub and worked stewarding just to kind of get some money because I needed to start raising some money to go to uni. And then I got my first, well, I'm going to call it a proper job. I worked for an insurance company. I worked in their call center, which is probably the worst job I've had so far.
That's normally the case when people say they worked in a call center.
I concur.
It was pain. So we were not Compare the Meerkat, but we worked on some of the products that Compare the Meerkat sells. So
Is it called Compare the Meerkat, or is it called Compare? Is that not just a slogan, or is it?
it is Compare the Market, sorry, but everyone just calls it Compare the Meerkat, don't they? So they kind of did the landlords and the public indemnity insurance. Do you guys know what public liability? Sorry, do you guys know what public liability is?
Is that like if someone comes into a building and there has an accident or something? Like, no, that's occupiers' liability.
No, so this is kind of like that, but for tradesmen. So, like, say I'm a builder and I'm working on your house and I actually knock down, like, I break a window. This kind of insurance covers that. So, yeah, we worked on
Right.
that product, and it was so stressful because that was kind of really scripted. They would listen. You would like every month you would have a session with the manager, and she would listen to like 3 calls that you did, and you'd have to note down every single bit where you left the script. I got told off once for saying sorry too much because I'm flicking through the script. You're umming and ahhing quite a lot because you don't naturally know what the next words are going to be. So I would say like, sorry, I'm just going to be a sec, and then you're flicking through because when you do this over the phone, this public liability insurance. I don't know if you've ever talked to an insurance company over the phone, but they've got to go through almost every bit of detail. Because if you have a claim and they think it's been missold and you haven't gone through like all the different pieces, kind of you have to pay for it anyway. The insurance company have to pay for it. So you have to really they have to cover their own backs. So it was really, it felt really pressurized all the time. At the same time, we started kind of, because it's landlord's insurance as well, whenever like it was cold and there were floods, everyone would call in. But unless like you have really special insurance, you're not covered for flooding. So you'd have people calling in. There would be people calling in to make claims, or people calling in because they wanted a meerkat toy. Our type of insurance didn't cover the meerkat toy, so we had to make that really clear every time. It was a lot of like granddad saying, "I've got this specific insurance because my granddaughter wants this little cuddly meerkat."
Oh, so you gave them away with the insurance, or
so for the meerkat for your more like public facing stuff. Like if you got your personal home insured or something, or your car insured, then you're entitled to a meerkat. If you got like
I was
something
going to say,
professional,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my dad or my sister got one when they got car insurance or something like that.
yeah. Do they like it?
Yeah, it's fine.
It's a meerkat, isn't it?
Yeah.
we were hoping at least 3 very amazing anecdotes were going to come out of that question, but no.
Like my job now, so at the moment I'm a project manager. So it's client facing rather than customer facing. It's similar in the sense that, I don't know, you get that, it was dread then, which is a really strong word to use. Now it's probably just nervousness before a call. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if it's an imposter syndrome thing or
I can't say I've ever felt that unless there's a particular reason why. If I know I'm going to be talking to someone difficult, or if I don't really know what I'm doing, which has occasionally happened.
That's my fear. I feel like a lot of the time I don't know what I'm talking about. And when you're a project manager, so I work at sorry, this is kind of ruining the format, but I work at a web design company.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so I work at a web design company, and we do like 2 sides. So there's like kind of a designer half where they're kind of getting ideas from the client and understanding what their content is and building these really beautiful pages, and then the technical half where they're thinking about how this stuff can actually be implemented. As a project manager, you know a little bit about both, but not enough to talk in confidence about the subject. So a lot of the time, you're relying on other people to kind of know what's going on. And I think when then those other people are taken away, because I think it's probably unrealistic to expect everyone to be on every call. You're supposed to be your client's kind of digital expert. It gets quite complicated then, because like I can't build a website, and I don't know why things are designed a certain way. I can like have my idea. I can say like that looks nice and I like what that does, but I can't actually create it. Kind of, they're just terms that I know roughly what they mean, and I'm confident.
HTML?
HTML, yeah, I know. Like, well, we don't use HTML, but
Oh,
I kind of, if someone says JavaScript, I go, that's probably a bit more complicated than we're used to, but I understand what that means. But it's things like different integrations, way different systems talk to each other. There are really specific terms, and if I say the wrong thing, a developer would get confused because
yeah.
it's a really specific thing in their mind. But like a client, kind of, they just want to understand concepts rather than specifics.
The most powerful phrase in the world is "I don't know."
Yeah, I think that's what I've learned as I've gotten older. When you're younger, I think it's your first. It's like your early jobs. You think the world's expected of you almost. You
Yeah.
feel like,
Yeah, and you're keen to
Yeah,
impress.
100%.
yeah, exactly. And especially at a call center, if you don't know something, you put the customer on hold. That gets tracked, like how long they've been on hold for. And generally, like I think we were given limits that if someone was on hold for a minute, you'd have to say something to them just to apologize. After like 5 minutes, that gets quite annoying. If like there's some music like playing down your ears, and then I'm just going, sorry, I'm going to be another minute, and then the same music starts again. Yeah, it's not healthy. I think when you don't feel supported, it's probably harder as well. I think at that company in particular, they knew that you weren't going to be there for long, so they weren't really giving you too much help.
Yeah, and you have more to prove, I guess, but it's a bit like how when you apply for your first job, you have to scrape together everything of any notes that you've ever done and make it sound like you've cobbled that together into a model employee.
Mhm.
But if you're applying for a job and you've already done that exact job or a similar one before for 3 years, then suddenly it's so much nicer. Don't know if you've had that, but it's such a nice experience
Yeah.
relatively.
So on your CV, do you still have A levels or anything like that on there?
No, not anymore.
I think
Yeah. I think I just put that I achieved A levels or like 4 A levels A star to C. I don't think I actually specified what they wwere or what grade.
it was only like in my current job where I took them off. So like up to like 2 years ago on my CV, it just felt it was really good padding the way I formatted. Because see, how long is CV supposed to be? I was told 2 pages years
Two
ago.
Like
pages?
ideally 1 page, I
If
think.
it's 1 page,
Really.
then we're sorted. But mine used to be like 2 pages. But I would say a good 3/4 of a page. I just listed every GCSE I had, and I just hope that they cared that I got like a C in Latin. Um,
You did Latin?
I did Latin. I know.
What a nerd.
I did
That's
Latin, and he
actually a
likes
good
maths.
point to actually upset the format even more by going backwards a bit. So we can understand the man before us who wanted to be an accountant but also was a bouncer for a bit. Tell us a bit about what Mr. Gilbody was like when he was a child, because you know how some people you can't imagine them ever being a child. You're one of those people to me. And I know that I'm that person to some other people, so I feel okay
Yeah, you are
saying
that
it.
person to me, Jacob.
So, you went to Lancaster for 2 years. What did you do there?
I did economics and politics. I liked economics and politics. The requirement grades were lower, so I added that onto the side.
So you did that for 2 years at Lancaster, and then you quit, or you dropped out.
I got kicked out pretty much. I think I was badly advised.
Why?
Why? It sounds like I've done something really like rebellious. I failed the year, and I think the normal process is that if you fail a year, then you kind of get to resit it. And I was told under no circumstances should you ask to resit the year by the student union.
The
Yeah,
student union?
yeah. So I talked to the student union because like that's what you do. I think I just said like I've done really badly. there's no real excuses. I've just done poorly. What should I do next? And they said like, oh, there's an appeals board, but realistically, if you appeal to them, it's more for like if you've got extenuating circumstances. But I appealed anyway, and then they said, sorry, you're not invited back for the next year, which seems kind of. I think we have friends who failed years really, and
Yeah.
they just got to resit it. Yeah, so
Yeah. I've got a
it's a
couple
bit
of mates who
annoying.
resat. Yeah.
I would guess that bad bit of advice probably cost me, let's say, 40 grand, if we're being realistic. Whereas the
What?
27 grand for the uni fees,
Yeah.
plus the extra years of maintenance loan that I had to take out on top of that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why Southampton?
I there isn't a good reason. I think I had originally applied to Southampton when I went to Lancaster, and I went to Lancaster because it was so far away from home. It kind of felt different.
Mm.
And I like the idea of living up north. Southampton maybe felt a bit closer to my mum and dad. It wasn't too far away from my girlfriend at the time. It had like a nice vibe. It's a nice campus, I think, isn't it? And I wanted to stick within a Russell group just because it felt nice to do that. So I had a good 3 years. I lived 4 years in Southampton, so I lived 1 year extra just with me and my now wife.
To be honest, I was surprised, Sean, that you stayed the extra year. But
Louise had
wasn't it because you had the tenancy and you?
Louise had a permanent job,
Oh,
and it was the only
right.
money we had coming in. So it was either that or like we stopped living together, and it just felt simpler to do it that way. So yeah, I think that's the only reason. And like we still like you guys are still there, so we still had friends there.
Yeah.
But like obviously, I started working. That's when I got my first kind of post uni job. I started working in London. So I was doing the commute from Southampton to London every day. I'd wake up at about 6 every morning. I feel bad for complaining about waking up at 6, but if you do wake up at 6 for your current job, it's too early. And I'm sorry.
Yeah. It is, yeah.
So I'd wake up at 6. I'd leave the house at 6:30 to get the 7 a.m. train. I would fall asleep on the train. A few times I accidentally fell asleep on a woman, which I still think about sometimes. Not
The same
deliberately,
one?
but hopefully not. I can't remember their faces, Jacob. I was asleep. I drank 8 pints of nap. If you cut the beer man thing out, this is not going to make any sense. But I'm
yeah, you have to keep it in now, Jacob.
So yeah, I'll do that. Then in the winter especially, it was hard because I'd then have a half an hour walk in London. So I'd have to get a train, especially. It was one every train every half an hour, so you'd have to get one half an hour early in case anything went wrong. So I had to then do a half an hour walk in London across Waterloo Bridge. So you're over the top of the river and the wind's blowing and it's freezing cold. I'd get in, I'd probably stink of sweat by that point. And then everyone else had like a 10-minute commute and just seemed really perky. And I was just kind of already drained for the rest of the day. And then that job, not meaning to go back to the format, that job was I was a fulfillment executive. And I know the question burning on your lips. What is a fulfillment executive? And I'm about to tell you. It is. So like do you know all the magazines in Have I Got News for You? Like they do that bit at the end where like it feels like they make up a magazine.
Yeah.
We worked on those magazines and sent them out to people. It was great. So like,
Oh, really?
yeah, I can't
Oh, that's
remember.
really cool.
I can't remember like I'm gonna like make up some of the names of them, but they're the right kind of topic. We had things like Australian Minerals Monthly.
Yeah.
Like there was an auction house that we had, quite a famous auction house, and that was really cool because this was just before GDPR came in. So I'm going to say it was really cool. Like they had loads of famous people on the list. So every so often, like you'd be typing stuff in and you find out like where Paul McCartney lived. So I have his full address now, and I'm about to say it out loud. It is 2 Denham Drive, Southeast London, SW5 3PY.
Is that actually it?
No, but what I'm hoping.
Oh.
Well, of course it's not, because he said, because if you were listening, Jacob, he said South East London and then gave an SW postcode. So,
Oh yeah, doink.
His address is 1 Penny Lane.
What's that? Is that a Beatles song?
No, there's a Beatles song called Penny Lane.
That's what I said. I said, is that a Beatles song? He said, no, it's a Beatles song.
Oh, I just said no.
She's used to that being the
You
first
know,
word
you
that's
know, like
needed.
like how sometimes when someone asks you a question, you go, "No, yeah," like, "No, yeah,
Yeah, but you didn't say the yeah. You just said.
yeah."
But
I
anyway,
just
it's fine.
cut.
Cut.
So
What were the other magazines?
There was a boxing one. I'm trying to think of like weird. The industries were so niche, you would never understand why people would go for it.
I guess they're all e-magazines these days, probably, aren't they? Because it's cost too much money now to. I mean,
I don't
the
know.
magazine from like the trade magazine for my trade is an online only thing. I can't imagine that. I think they would lose money if they actually printed it out.
Jacob, you have to remember, and if I say this once, I say it a million times. This was pre-COVID. We were a tactile country. We like to leaf through. I know on a Kindle, some of the newer Kindles, you can kind of do a manual leaf, but it's not that you can't turn the corner of a Kindle. You're just
Well,
gonna
what I like to do is I get a Kindle and then I pinch the screen so hard that I then tear the screen off the underlying electronics. And then I reach over to a giant pile of Kindles beside my bed, which have all been pre-programmed with each page consecutively. So I go, this is the Kindle for the next page. Sorry if that makes me weird.
Oh no. It's kind of what I expected, if I'm being honest.
Sorry if you snowflakes don't agree.
Jacob is pretty much.
If there are any people in Whitehall listening to this, I'm gonna keep doing it. I don't care what you say.
You Wall
Especially if
Street
you're a
fat
fat cat.
cats. Yeah. Oh, jinx. So how long were you there for?
And that was around about a year. So why I did that, I wanted a job in London because I was dazzled by the bright lights of the big city.
Yes.
Yeah, in terms of there, I joined there one because London, and two because I wanted to, as president. So I was president of the Southampton Comedy Society, and I realised then that I really enjoyed organising things. So we had to organise. I was part of organising some trips up to the Edinburgh Fringe and thinking like budgets and thinking about like sleeping schedules of like when people are visiting and things like that.
So we had to sleep from 9 p.m. till 7 a.m.
But you boys wouldn't. You were up all night having your funnies. I really enjoyed that, and then I started going, oh, this is basically when I left uni. It was either like being a project manager, or I was really, really interested in going into politics. And like, I don't know if you guys know this. So there's a website where it's just a list of every job that's going for under MPs, and you can like filter it
Right,
by
yeah.
what party they're in, like just like basically like kind of being an intern for them. And I went to Edinburgh that August, and I remember I was giving this like older Australian woman some directions of where to go, and she said, like, what do you think you might do when you're older? And remember, I said to her like, oh, yeah, like, I'm thinking about politics. I could work for MPs. I want to like do something that makes a difference. And she was about to go, and then she just went, "They'll eat you alive." And then she left and didn't say another word to me. And since that just put me off. It got stuck in my head that they might kind of.
Oh,
And now, like,
wow. Was that when we
yeah,
were at the Fringe?
at the Fringe, yeah, I was giving like this. We're in Cowgate, which is kind of like near the middle of where the Fringe is, and she was asking for directions. And yeah, she gave me that like weird piece of advice that I really took to heart. And
Did you
you
tell
watch
anyone about it at the time, or did you just keep it to yourself?
you've got an exclusive. This is the first time I've ever told anyone
Ooh.
this story.
Really?
Yeah, I never knew.
Yeah, I think
That's
it's
so cool. I love that. I love the idea of that. Of just this woman who probably didn't think twice about it, and it was just passing comment and walked off. But you can shape someone's life.
it kind of did. I could be part of a government right now. Instead, I'm here. Like I did try to go into like the civil service, and so they've got this like fast tracking thing. I can't remember what it's
Yeah,
called.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And
I thought about that as well.
I could never get past the questionnaire. Supposedly for the questionnaire, because like people always said, the answers are online if you want to find the answer to the questionnaire. But I never really saw the point of making stuff up. I thought I might as well like give what I actually think. And every time I'd get the same rejection email back.
Oh, the old
So
civil service behaviours.
yeah, the behaviours exactly. Yeah, I could never get my head around them.
Working collaboratively, managing a quality service. Yeah, I know all of them, mate. Been in it for 3 years, and I.
So obviously we met at the Comedy Society. And it might have been the first time I went, but I arrived bang on time. And so obviously a lot of people hadn't arrived yet. So it was just like Aiden, who was the president then, and a few other people. And then I just remember that everyone started talking about your imminent arrival and they all got really excited. And it was a bit like waiting for Godot, where people were just saying, I think a few people were saying, "Oh, is Sean coming? Oh, yeah, Sean's coming." And I was like, "Oh, who's Sean? Who's this going to be?" Because I'd never met anyone there before. And then you showed up, and then you kind of looked a bit embarrassed that people were just sort of standing there looking like they were waiting for you to arrive. And then you just kind of made some kind of wry comment. And I just remember, because I was quite intimidated by all of the people in the older years, basically, because I was totally new to doing, going to a comedy society or doing anything like that. And then when Eva Wallace, who was on episode 6, and I started talking about going and doing a sketch show in Edinburgh, we thought of asking you. And I remember even at that point, I thought the idea of asking you if you wanted to do it as well seemed like, surely never. He's much too high and mighty to do that. It's quite weird to think that now, but that's my kind of recollection of how I felt at the time.
I think the thing with Southampton was I had already kind of gone through a bit of a uni experience before then. So I was like 3 years older than everyone. So I think, neither of you were there my first year, but I would have had that bit more confidence because I had done a bit. It's a bit weird, I think, if you've done stand up before you've gone to uni, you'd be really young. There's not like much to talk about. So I had like a few, like, even like just like, I remember very early, it was more, when me and Aidan were presidents, we kind of built it more around sketch and improv. But it was very stand up to begin with. I knew I had a few bits of stand up that I did like. So that kind of gave me a bit of confidence. And then I could kind of build on that to begin with. And then I directed. So your guys' first year, I would have directed the Freshers show.
Laugh, Cry, Drink, Repeat.
Laugh, Cry, Drink, Repeat. I can't remember a single. I remember a couple of sketches from that, but really few. But yeah, like going into the project manager thing, I liked organising again, and I think maybe I enjoyed that more than the actual comedy. But I'd already I was a comedy president at Lancaster, so I'd already had like experience of doing that kind of thing before. So I think maybe that gave me a little bit more respect is too strong a word, but like just gave me a bit more confidence that maybe other people wouldn't necessarily have.
Yeah.
So yeah, because I'm 31 now, so 3 years older than you, Jacob, 5 years than Jordan. So it's a bit of an age gap. So I think that's probably why it was like that to begin with, and then very quickly you realised you're all funnier than me. So then it slowly kind of dragged down. But I tried to keep the illusion up for as long as I could.
I don't know. I mean, that's you weren't a. It sounds like an insult. It's not. You weren't a generalist in the way that some people are when they just eager and they just turn up and they just do whatever because they're just happy to be there. You had a kind of particular style and tone to the way that you did things that meant that often if a sketch was going to be in the show and it had a particular kind of character, it would be like, definitely that's got to be Sean because he'll do that really well.
I do like to shout.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about some of the Normal Boy sketches. Normal Boy was the name of the sketch troupe that Sean and Eva and JG and I did at Edinburgh in 2017.
Yeah, it was good. Normal Boy was great. I think that was probably my favourite thing I did at Southampton. I remember like we had that month where we would just write stuff and we were talking about like what kind of style we'd want to do. We got obsessed with this game called Mr. Square Goes to Shape Town.
Mr. Circle Goes to Shape City.
Mr. Circle Goes to Shape City. Oh, this is so kind of typical, but it'd be the three boys playing Mr. Circle Goes to Shape City. And Eva, probably at the end of like the last tether, just desperately trying to get a script written. And saying, what do you guys think about this? And we were trying to figure out. I think the game. I've tried to play it since. I think the game's rigged, so you can't actually complete it.
I tried to play it the other day because I knew that it would come up in this episode. And I thought it disappeared as well, so I was really surprised that I was able to play it.
So there's a level where you have to walk a particular path that I don't think is possible. Did you get past that level?
No, I didn't play it for very long, I must say, because I recalled that I think we came to the conclusion at the time that it was just a joke and there was no way of actually winning it.
Yeah.
But I remember there's quite a big lecture theatre at Southampton called not Triple E actually, called EdLec,
Mhm.
Education Lecture Theatre, I think. And I remember you and I and JG standing up at the lectern playing Mr. Circle Goes to Shape City, and Eva sitting in the seats with her head in her hands at one point, wondering if we were actually going to write any sketches. But we did, write a lot of sketches, enough that things didn't make it into
Mm.
the final show. We did in Eva's episode, we did talk about the Piece of K sketch,
Oh,
but
yeah.
the one in which you played Piece of K. So if you want to hear more about that, go back and listen to Eva's episode as well, because that was our signature sketch, I think. But the sketch I wanted to talk about was the one where you played a member of ABBA, and this is a really good example of a sketch that no matter who had written it in the society, nobody could have done it other than you, because basically what the sketch was was it Benny? I think it
I
was
think
Benny.
I think I changed it to Bienni, so it was a mixture of Benny and Bjorn.
Yeah, one of the male members of ABBA, but it's him. And he in the sketch, he's a Scandinavian detective, and that was a name. That was what we called the sketch, Scandinavian Detective. It was just called Scandinavian Detective. All it was in the middle of the show, Sean would come out and improvise, like sometimes 10 minutes of the Scandinavian Detective interacting with the audience, like he was giving a talk to the audience. And Sean, you're gonna have to take it from here.
So the idea originally with Bienni Anderson, I thought I just wanted to do like kind of a character bit where there was I thought there was something funny in linking it in with a Scandinavian noir film or noir like murder. And I thought that mixed with ABBA was just a funny idea generally. Because like ABBA, if you listen to it, it's actually really dark and weird. So it started off with I wanted the character to be a motivational speaker, speaking at a car sales event. And
Oh
then
yeah, forgotten about that.
Didn't you mention Fargo in it as well?
Fargo was definitely an inspiration. Yeah, I wanted it to
Yeah.
kind of be like this weird, like imagine him in like this really weird, snowy, small town, eventually just raving about how a caribou had murdered his the rest
Oh
of
yeah, the
ABBA.
caribou.
So the whole idea was eventually it got weirder as it went on because what was happening if in Edinburgh we were there for a whole month and you get tired, so you just start saying things and
And
not
we
really
had no
knowing where it's going.
breaks. We
We
did
had
it
no
every single day.
Eventually I decided the character needed a nemesis, and I thought caribou's a funny word. So there was a caribou who killed the rest of ABBA, I think, in a snowplow incident. And that kind of led to me walking around the stage, ideally getting on top of some chairs and walking on chairs and asking people what their favorite ABBA songs were. And that was me shouting for 5 minutes. And I would kind of be screaming in people's faces. And we'd have like 5 people in, and most of them were kind of, it was like 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock, that show. And I'd be screaming in like a dad's
I
face.
think it was 11 a.m.
Was it 11? That's too
I
early.
think it's a really bad slot.
Yeah, but it was 11 a.m. It was too early. I always thought there was a decent show in that character. The issue is one, I can't do a Scandinavian accent to save my
No,
life.
that was the
It,
best part.
it would go from like all across Europe, maybe into a
Oh
bit
yeah,
of Asia and back.
the way the way you said the word caribou was the thing that always got me, because it was like some kind of weird American accent that suddenly came on you and you said caribou, and I can't even hope to recreate it, but and you always said it with such passion as well, just like such
I, th-
anguish in your voice. It was
I think just commitment to,
oh
like, I always try to do 100% into roles.
yeah, and
Mm.
oh no, this is from the Piece of K sketch. But the other thing that always there, those moments in shows that are so the cast like so much that it's always a danger they're going to corpse. The bit that always used to get me that you did, and you might remember the line, but you said You always said
Was it the
no bigger than a,
Yeah,
and then you'd
it's-
say a different bird every time.
I remember holding his coffin. He was no bigger than a chaffinch.
Yeah.
You would
And,
change the bird every time.
And Eva and JG and I would be backstage because you'd go no bigger than a cormorant, and we'd be doing. It was, oh my gosh! And
I think
quite often, my memory is that I'd just be almost the whole show up until that point. I'd be thinking, what bird's he gonna say in the Peter Kay sketch?
when you're doing it like 30 times in a row, you've got to like change something up just to be
Yeah.
just for everyone's sanity. I think my favorite bird, in the Peter, again, I'm going to make it clear I can't do accents, but my favorite one was sparrow. No bigger than a sparrow.
My favourite bit was when you started to lose your mind in that sketch, and you were like, "Do you remember Great Fire of London?"
Oh, I've changed those every time as well, and that got
Yeah,
harder
yeah.
because my history knowledge isn't perfect. So.
Shall we get on to the final bit, which is crafting your dream job? Now, what we like to ask everyone before we jump into this is, do you already have a dream job?
It's selfish. I have 3 written down.
We can work with that.
Number 1, I'd like to be a 12th century architect. I would like to design something that I will never see the end of. It feels pressure free. It feels like I could leave a lasting impact. And if it went poorly, it would just be pulled down so that the modern times wouldn't know they existed.
What assumptions about 12th century architecture are making their way into this idea that you have?
I'm assuming I am building something epic.
Like a cathedral.
Cathedral, that's the minimum. Leaning Tower of Pisa. You didn't ask whether I need to be qualified. I assume this is just my dream. The dream is to start. I want the credit for something that if it goes wrong, I won't be alive to know.
So, like, if you built the Leaning Tower of Pisa and then it's straightened up after you died.
Well, it was supposed to be
then-
straight to begin with.
Oh, okay.
He messed up, which is exactly what I want. I want the openness to be able to do it wrong. As I am living, there'll be foundations, and I'll go, this looks great, and then I'll die, and then it's whoever took over, it's their fault.
So you don't want to be like the Roman architect who builds a bridge and then he's made to stand underneath it while the scaffolding's taken away. Have you heard of that?
I haven't, but I don't want my architecture to kill me. It's essential that the architecture isn't finished. The building isn't complete before it dies. I must die first of natural causes. I have to be really specific on this one.
Yeah, because what they used to do in the Roman times, I'm given to understand, is that if after the bridge is done, the architect has to stand underneath it while the scaffolding is taken away because he has to be that sure that he's built it properly. Like that confident that it's not going to fall on top of him and kill him.
What bloody health and safety these days. They've taken all that away now, haven't they?
They won't let me stand under my bridge. Like the troll I am.
But that's very much the opposite scenario to the one you're after.
No, that's ultimate confidence. Mine is from a place of zero confidence. Mine's the cowardly architect.
So what are we learning about Sean Gilbody? Are we learning that you do not care about what happens? You don't care about your legacy. You don't care about how you're remembered after you die.
I would rather it was good. Like I am spending time. It'd be nice if it was good, but if it's not, that's also fine.
So you're not actually expecting that you'll make buildings that will fall down in this scenario. It's just
no.
in case they do. That's you want the insurance.
The insurance of my death to make sure that, as far as I'm concerned, it went well.
Okay.
Exactly. So that's job 1.
What's job 2?
Job 2. I really like custard. So I'd like to be some kind of custard influencer or custard taster. I would go around the world tasting different custards and their varieties. And from there, we can figure out what's going on.
So I want
Figure out
to.
what's going on. What, like there's something going on with custard that you need to figure out.
Frangipan? Creme brulee?
Frangipan. What's that?
I don't know. I was Googling different kinds of custard earlier. Panna
Okay,
cotta, is
so
that a custard?
I'm very interested by the concept. I get the concept of a custard taster. That's fine. What I'm interested in is the concept of a custard influencer. So
Okay.
this is someone who, so influencers are often very beautiful or fashionable people who, for that reason, have large existing followings on, say, Instagram or TikTok. And advertisers think, I want to advertise my product, and 2 million people like this person enough that if this person professes to use my product, they will be influenced by that. So I think what we need, the gaps we need you to fill in here is how have you attained this existing following that you would need to have in order to be an influencer? And why would a custard company decide to come to you specifically to advertise to influence your followers to buy their custard?
So in my mind, I would be the Stuart Lee of custard. I would build my niche of a very custard focused audience. That's what I'm selling to big custard corp. They know
Yeah.
they come to Gilbody, the custard fans are going to follow. From that perspective, how I would do that, I would start off with short TikToks of me trying different supermarket custards. Let's
Okay.
start that off to begin with.
Yeah.
Every so often, I will intersperse that by mixing custard with other things. For instance, I had custard with broken bits of mince pie in it last week,
Oh
and
yeah.
I did not like it. I thought it ruined what was a perfectly good custard. So I think people will go, what's he going to put in custard?
I feel like I'm going mad.
From there, I slowly, I think I will get my custard niche and slowly build the audience up that way. So just to explain the custard taster thing, that's more a family thing because my granddad was a professional tea taster.
Really?
Oh wow!
He worked for Co-op, going around the world tasting different teas. So that
Oh, my
also
mum
keeps
would
up.
like that job.
I think from my knowledge, he liked it. He knew his tea. He was a tea. I like to be him, but him in custard. So that's why I'm kind of going for the custard route. But if I was going down the custard influencer route, build up my niche audience. Custard with I'm going to say let's go for American desserts that we wouldn't normally associate custard with. Custard with a pecan pie. I've never seen that before. Custard with
I would try that.
Pumpkin pie. It's going to be quite pie
What about
focused.
like in an American diner, you could have like a custard float?
Oh yes, please. Exactly. Yeah, it would just be
Like instead of a Coke and ice cream on top, you could have a Coke and custard.
Could I develop an alcoholic custard? Is
that a rhetorical question?
That would be. I'd actually be interested to try that.
It sounds like
Is eggnog?
Like a daiquiri custard.
This is the first time I've ever said this to anyone in one of these sections before, Sean. But this dream job is something that you could totally do. Like, you could just do it now. You could start doing it now.
I don't want the fame as the issue.
But you could do it with like a bag over your head with a question mark on it or something.
Well, how's he going to eat the custard then, stupid?
Well, and with a hole where the mouth is.
I could do it with a mask of Captain Birdseye.
What does he look
Birdseye
like?
custard. Big beard. I think that's all I know. I just like custard. There's no other motivation behind that job that it's become clear I like custard.
Why? So being serious now, being deadly serious, why wouldn't you now do it if you're wearing a mask and you've got like a voice modulator on that means no one can recognize your voice?
Is the custard industry ready to be so shaken up?
Do you mean like in the current economic climate, you're worried that you're gonna make it collapse?
I mean, both figuratively, make the custard industry. there's only so much custard that the Custard Corp can produce.
Mhm.
If I get too popular, the prices are going to skyrocket. I'm going to price myself out of my own product. And also, literally, that's another video idea. I could do videos of me like dancing in custard, or I could do a charity thing with me in a bath of custard, and I can only leave the bath once I've eaten all the custard. Because when they do you not think when they do the bath of beans, that is like eat the beans. There's no what you do. You'll just cover. You might as well just pull the cans over your head.
Sean, I'm hesitating to say, what was the third job?
Third job was I've just written down brewer brackets general. I would like to be able to brew something. So originally I wrote down coffee brewer. Now what I think I mean is coffee roaster, but I'm going to stick with the word brewer. I would like to brew beer. What else can you brew? I don't
Tea?
know. Tea. Sorry, of course I could brew tea.
You could follow in your granddaddy's footsteps and brew tea.
You can also brew up a storm.
I could brew up a storm. Oh,
You could brew
yeah, I could control the
custard.
weather.
You could brew
I
custard.
could brew
bring the two together.
custard.
Homemade custard.
Where is this coming from then, Sean? Do you like craft beer? Do you like all of those weird little expensive?
You strike me as an IPA bloke.
I do, and I know that makes me a bit of a numpty. I know people judge me for drinking IPA, but tell you what, I like BrewDog.
I'll tell you what you are.
Neck oil.
Oh, don't.
I think it tastes nice, and I won't feel guilty anymore for liking it.
Wait, you drink punk IPA?
I drink punk IPA. I drink Hazy Jane. I drink Electric Dream. I drink Elvis Juice. I drink double punk IPA, which I think is just the twice alcoholic one. I drink them and I like them.
All right, fair enough.
I have no opinion about this at all.
You're unapologetic.
If our listeners want to send hate mail to Sean, his email address is .com.
Oh, yep, my actual email address, yep.
Is that his actual note, Jacob?
Well, obviously I'm not going to leave it in.
No, to be fair, his actual email address is custardman.
Custardman at custard.com.
And that's if you drink more than 8 pints of custard, then you become Custard Man.
Without going to the toilet.
What if I was the Banksy of custard? Like, it would be me doing videos around the country, nobody knowing who I am, everyone wondering why I'm leaving this custard. That mixes in with the architect's thing, kind of, because there's no responsibility. I will make custard drawings out of custard, and then also eat a bit of the custard and leave it like social commentaries around the country.
In the blueprints.
Why don't we mash the three together? You could brew the custard. You could mask yourself and go around the country and paint with custard, and then you could eat the custard.
I think that's it. I couldn't imagine a better life. I would love to do it.
I can't wait for the original Custard Man to pop up in Bristol, because obviously we've got loads of Banksies around there, haven't we? I've been around and seen a few of them, like the original Banksies. So I can't wait to see the original custards.
You know how Banksy like shredded that painting?
Yeah.
And made him. How could I do that with custard?
I guess you could freeze it and then you could like shatter it.
Oh, that would be tempting. Yeah, I'd only work during winter to make sure it's cold enough to stay frozen, and then that would be my job.
What I'd like to see is you turn up at Trafalgar Square at 5 a.m. one day before any of the journalists have got up out of bed.
I do that most days, but yes.
And you build frozen custard effigies of all the CEOs of all the major custard manufacturers. And then as the morning moves on and Trafalgar Square fills with people, you very somberly smash all of the statues to pieces with a big hammer. And then you look at everyone and say, it's time.
Could then some street urchins run in and they could eat the custard? I wouldn't be littering. I'd be feeding people. I think that's perfect almost.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Anthony Gormley statues in Liverpool ever? They're like these statues. There's like 100 of them on a beach, and they're just like looking out to sea. It's kind of, if you Google that, that's kind of what I'm imagining with these statues, but they're made out of custard and not on a beach. They're in Trafalgar Square.
Sean, completely off topic, but it's eating away at me. Thoughts on Angel Delight?
I loved it as a child, enjoyed it as a teenager. As an adult, I could do without it. I did it last year as part of a pre-birthday treat, the butterscotch variation, and it was
I was just about to
possibly
say.
it's the worst disappointment I've had
Really?
in 5 years.
Oh, there was nothing better.
What happened 5 years ago?
My hamster died. What a letdown! 3 years. What a waste of time. What a waste of everyone's time.
Well, this has been a real roller coaster of an episode, but I think that we found you a dream job, because I think that at the end of the day, these will all combine into one overall vocation for you. You look happy, we look happy. Let's shake on it.
Sounds good to me. I just want to say, I feel like I've drunk 8 pints worth of job without having gone to the toilet. I think I can officially call myself Job Man.
And on that note, Sean, thanks very much.
Thank you
for coming.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
It's been
guys.
lovely to speak to you. And keep reaching for those stars, baby. I've actually never become the beer man. I think the most I've ever drunk in one night was 7 pints of beer, which was the night of the day that I handed in my dissertation. And then I was very ill before I even went to bed.
That's amateur hour for you. 7 pints. I think I've probably done 10 plus pints in a night.
Well, may I be the first to say, ooh.
Yeah, I'm kind of cool. What I tend to do is every time I finish a can, I'll crush it on my head and then I'll shout, "How's that?" and throw it into the recycling bin.
And do you do that thing where you drink the whole can in one go without stopping?
Yeah. Have you ever shotgunned a can before?
As in shot it with a shotgun?
No. It's where you shake the can really hard to get the beer all fizzy, and then you stab the side of the can. You have to hold the can up to your mouth and then quickly drink it all in one go. And I did that once when I was 15 and I threw up.
15?
Yeah. Misspent youth.
Well, you wouldn't do that with a beer that Sean had brewed in his dream job, would you? That would be very disrespectful.
No, I'd sip that with a steak and a cigar.
Yeah, and some custard
And
in a
arse.
12th century edifice of some kind. Although you'd probably be nervous it was about to fall down on top of you.
Oh, yeah. If Sean knocked it up, then, I mean, because, he's famously a bit of a cowboy builder, isn't he? I think I saw him on that show with Dom Littlewood once. He was
Me
trying
too.
he was trying to get into his Range Rover and drive away really quickly.
One of the episodes back from the 12th century.
Yeah. With Dom Littlewood's great grandfather, Dominus Littlewood.
Well, it was very fun to have Shawnee Boy, as he likes to be known, on the podcast. And I hope that you enjoyed listening to his silliness and his lovely dream jobs. Is that the first time we've had more than one dream job?
I think it is, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Ooh.
Yeah, it definitely is actually. Yeah, because we've had, we've had plenty of weird and wacky ones, but we've never had a 3-in-1 before. So this has been a bit of a boundary pushing episode when you think about it.
I do think about it.
Good night.